So here's part two of Rabbi Daniel Lapin's keynote speech at Financial Success Summit 2021.
When you serve other people, money is created. Now, just let those words sink into your heart, because one of the distinctions between Jews and other people is that we Jews, we never say, please God, please, I need 150 pounds or dollars to pay the rent next month. You've got to help me get 150 pounds, please. We never do that. What we do pray is, please God, show me some of your other children that need my help. I just am looking to serve your other children, because we know the money will always follow. You've got to find ways to serve other people. And so this is hugely important, because you know how you can sometimes almost smell desperation on people. Somebody comes to ask you if they can work for you. They're looking for a job. Somebody wants to borrow some money from you. You can almost feel the desperation, and it makes you want to run away. But when you switch your thinking around and you become a different kind of person, I'm only looking to help you, all of a sudden, you're welcome. Now, what this means is, of course, that if you are, let's say you are applying for a job and you interview for a job, you do not want to answer questions like, so, what are your ambitions? What are the things you want? It's a trick question, because if you answer and you say, well, I would like to make enough money to be able to buy a Mercedes-Benz and go on picnics on the weekend, you'll be lucky to get that job, because the truth is, nobody is interested in what you want. Well, that's not true. Maybe your mother is. Your mother is probably interested in what you want, but nobody else. And so the correct answer to the question in an interview is, so what do you want for yourself? I want to become a part of your company. I want to be able to work here, and I want to be able to contribute to the success of your business. I want to make your life easier and lives of everybody in the company better because of the contributions I bring and the efforts I throw into this enterprise. That's the correct answer. I want to be a giver, not a taker, because that is how the good Lord created us. He created us to be givers and not takers. And the truth is that giving makes us feel bigger and better people. Taking makes us feel smaller people with corroded souls as well. Now, before I go on, I would love to stop for a moment to see if there are any questions, if there's anything that I've said that stimulates a thought or an idea or a question on the part of any of you. And I'm just looking on my screen now to see if there are any questions here. And I don't believe there are. Yolanda, if you're there as well, I'd love it if you just be able to confirm with me there are no questions.
Okay, no questions. We just have a comment from Dione teaching Rabbi Daniel.
Okay, fine. Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you, Dion. I appreciate it. Okay, well, in that case, with your mission, Yolanda, I'll continue. Okay, so this then is an important and timeless truth. For making money, we don't go out looking for money. We go out looking for ways to serve other people. So I'll give you an example, and I mean, it happened to me fairly recently, so it's very much in my mind. If any of you have listened to me lately on YouTube or anywhere else, you might have heard me give this example. But this was a woman who loved, it's crazy, she loved thick woolen sweaters made in New Zealand. Okay, they specialize in these thick woolen sweaters there. And she wanted to start a business making woolen sweaters. That's what she wanted to do. Not making, I'm sorry, selling them, importing them and selling them. And I asked her, and I said, well, can you tell me what the market is for woolen sweaters? What is the weather like where you are? Tell me about your competition. If there's nobody else selling woolen sweaters, then it's probably not a good idea. You hear what I said? You don't have to come up with something that nobody else is doing. You just have to come up with something that you can do better than other people. That's all. And anyway, the end of the result was, it turned out that it was a terrible idea for her to import sweaters because she wouldn't be able to sell them. And she thought of that idea only because she personally had an emotional attachment to these woolen sweaters. And so it is, if you like baking cakes, it's not necessarily a good idea for you to become a baker. That's not necessarily the best business for you to go into. So that's a worthwhile thing to remember. You don't necessarily have to go into something you're passionate about. As a matter of fact, that might be a mistake. The truth is that you must do what other people need and then learn to be passionate. You learn to love what you're doing. But you don't look to go into that which you already love. The reason? Because that is an expression of selfishness. And God doesn't reward selfishness. Why is it selfish? Well, because you're choosing to go into an activity that you happen to love, right? What's I love music. Oh, good. I better go into the music business. Look, you're not very good at music. Well, but I like it. That's irrelevant. What people need in your neighborhood where you live, what people need is a driver, somebody who can drive them to the shops, drive them back, drive the airport, drive them back. Oh, all right. Well, if I can serve God's other children doing that, then I will love doing that. I will enjoy it. Exactly. That's the idea. So this is so important that I want to tell you about 4 verses in the Bible. I'm a rabbi, so I talk about the Bible. If the Bible is of no interest to you, then pardon me, this will only take a few minutes, but it'll make a useful point, even if you are not a biblical enthusiast. And it certainly is very much part of the secret of Jewish financial success, which you can use in your life without question. I want to tell you about 4 verses, okay? Verse number 1 is in chapter 2 of Genesis, chapter 2 of Genesis, where God puts Adam in the Garden of Eden. And it says there, and God put Adam in the Garden of Eden to work it. Remember the word work, right? Because we're talking about work. Another one is in chapter 20 of Exodus, where in chapter 20 of Exodus, we find the 10 commandments. And the 4th commandment is about the Sabbath. And it says, 6 days you shall do all your work. And on the 7th you shall, and so on and so forth. So please bear with me that I've told you 2 verses about work. God put Adam in the Garden of Eden to work it, and 6 days you must do all your work. Now I want to tell you 2 verses with the word worship. In chapter 3 of Exodus, God said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and say to him, 'Let my people go so that they may worship me in the desert.'" Worship. In chapter 24 of the book of Joshua, last chapter of Joshua, verse 15, Israel's been misbehaving, and Joshua says to them, "You all can do whatever you like, but as far as me and my family is, we will worship the Lord." So if you just summarize with me, 2 verses on worship. Joshua says, "We will worship my family and me will worship the Lord, and let my people go so they may worship me in the desert." I told you 2 verses about work. God put Adam in the Garden of Eden to work it. 6 days shall you work and do all your... Okay, fine. So we got 4 verses, 2 work, 2 worship. And here, it's useful to have a rabbi, right? I'm your rabbi. Here's something useful. In the Hebrew text, the original Lord's language in which the Old Testament was written, it doesn't say 2 different words for can worship. Same word. The Hebrew word is oved. Do you realize the significance of this? That doing your work and worshiping God is the same word? Because what it means is that when you're taking care of your business, you are doing as much worshiping of God as when you worship the Lord in church. Same thing. What? How can that possibly be? Well, think about it. For this question, you need to have children. If you don't have children, talk to somebody who does. Talk to a parent, talk to a friend, and you'll be able to get the answer. My question is, if somebody is going to hurt you or your children, who would you rather they hurt? Most parents would say, hurt me, leave my children alone. Let's reverse it. Somebody's going to do a wonderful favor. Somebody's going to do a real good act for you or for your child. Please do it for my child. Give my child a leg up in life. Do your favor for my child. And when people do that, it makes us happy. Well, how do you think it makes our Father in heaven feel when we take care of his other children? It's good. He loves that. And that's why it is that when we do our business, when we take care of our work, it's just like worshiping the Lord. Same word, same idea. Why? Again, I've got to go back and emphasize, because you've probably forgotten how important it is to remember that my work is in order to do good for other people. The money, it comes by itself. And please understand that in matters between human beings, actions are much more important than what's in the head. That's really important to understand. God knows what's in the heart. We don't. We can only measure actions.